Today, this presentation will take us through the literature on the African American male student-athlete experience, with a particular focus on their academic and social experiences while in college. We will begin with a review of the conceptual model, explore the research process I use, including key search terms, journals used, and other key research information, highlight major themes found, understand my approach to qualitative data analysis, and provide conclusions and ideas for future research. The goals of this study, conceptual framework, research questions, methods, and measuring validity and reliability are all key pieces when conducting a study in literature review. The goals and research questions are critical since they will keep you centered and on task. The conceptual framework will inform the methods you use, the questions you ask, and the ways you seek validity. Your methods are influenced by the items mentioned previously and must be molded to fit this criteria. There are several ways to ensure the data collected is valid and reliable. Triangulation of data, member checks, and peer feedback all contributed to both the validity and reliability of any study done. For this particular project, a thorough review of the literature also assisted in this process. The desire to review and study the experiences of African American male student athletes begins for me with my upbringing. Often I saw classmates feel the need to choose. Either they were going to be nerds or athletic superstars. There never appeared to be any room for both. In this class, my ideas changed several times as I received feedback and preparing to finalize findings. For instance, my initial focus was on the general experiences of student athletes. However, after receiving feedback on my conceptual framework, a more focused approach on both the academic and athletic experiences of African American men was a theme that emerged. As you can see, due to the feedback I received from classmates, my initial reading of the literature, and the practicality of completing this project, my graph evolved and focused on the academic and athletic experiences of African American male student athletes. Changes to my model are noted in yellow. With these changes in place, I now was ready to continue my process of coding articles and seeing what findings led to answers to my research questions. Before reviewing findings, it is important to understand my process for searching, reading, reviewing, and coding. Various articles and databases including ERIC, the Review of Higher Education, the Journal of Higher Education, the Journal of College Student Development, and more nuanced journals including the Journal of Negro Education, Journal of Issues in Intercollegiate Athletics, and the Journal of College and Character were used to find appropriate studies for this review. Specific search terms in these databases included student-athlete experiences, African American male student athletes, the coach-athlete relationship, and African American men in college. My focused research questions were really valuable as I was able to focus the information directly related to the academic experiences of African American male student athletes. With my search completed and saved, I began the process of reading and reviewing my literature. After an initial read of each article, I coded by hand. Similar to our group project, to help center the data, I used an initial gerund coding to see initial findings. With this completed, I took these codes and developed my codebook. To assist in the coding process, after each article I read, I made a memo highlighting each item outlined on the screen. With these memos in hand for each article, I was able to review my codebook. This book had over 50 codes and included terms like experiencing dual identities and role-playing expectations. Additionally, with each quote, I was able to connect with the code, providing context for why the particular codes were chosen. With these initial codes noted, I then reread each article and coded again by hand. This time, I color-coded the codes in order to have a visual representation of the data included in each article. With the data now coded, a memo done for each article, and my foundation was completed from the beginning, I was ready to theme the data and seek conclusions. With the data coded and organized, there were three major themes I pulled from the codes derived from the literature. Two key findings on identity included the concept of identity foreclosure, which was discussed in the introduction, and the dual identity concept. Within each idea, there were several quotes that highlighted these experiences. For instance, in one article reviewed, the authors noted, athletes participating in high-level sports competitions have often been noted to have exclusive athletic identities, with most of their self-determination and self-worth based on athletic participation and success. This affected their transition out of athletics as they struggled to redefine their identities. This highlights how student athletes can only see their identity in one lens and will close off all other ideas once they find an athletic identity. Regarding the idea of the dual identity concept, one author stated, for many student athletes, the identity as student takes a backseat to the identity as athlete. This further notes how choices can be made on who the student athlete chooses to become. A final point that surfaced repeatedly in the data focused on the concept of academic clustering. This occurs when a student athlete takes the same classes, has the same majors, and thus athletic programs are better able to manage their class and practice schedules. This concept was presented from both university staff and faculty perspectives. With the findings highlighted, it is important to share my approach to qualitative data analysis. If I were to design a study after our data collection, which would include interviews, review of the literature, observations, and field notes, I would work with a team that would go through a rigorous process of coding. This approach would be most beneficial so that our codes could be checked and redefined by more than one individual. For this particular project, there were several key elements in my approach, including an initial level of coding, recoding the data, and using these newly developed codes to find themes. My understanding and approach to qualitative data analysis has evolved over the course of this semester. In working with this project, there are 3 key items that evolved over the course of this class. Number 1, there is a need to go over data more than once. Number 2, being immersed in your data is key. This relates to point 1, but slightly differs since your immersion in the data makes information easier to find. Number 3, you must reread previous work while you are in progress. Memoing, rereading, and reflecting on what you have captured is a key component of qualitative data analysis. In conclusion, there is still much work to be done on this particular topic. The research notes 3 key areas where this can begin, including describing the African American male experiences at various institution types, including historically black colleges and universities, selective private colleges, Division II, and NAIA institutions. Furthermore, the experience of African American males and their relationship with their coaches is information that periodically surfaces in the literature. Since so much time is spent with coaches, an explanation of the role of the coach in their academic success could help researchers further understand their experiences. Finally, the role of the NCAA is another important topic to discuss. Recent NCAA rule changes have led to several positive outcomes. However, when these numbers are reviewed with a focus on African American males, a different story is told. Additional information on how the NCAA can assist in this process, particularly focusing on institutional goal setting and investigations at various institutions, is important.